This Jocks 94.5 podcast is brought to you by Millennium Satellite and Video. Log on to msbnow.com. TV excellence everywhere. That's Millennium. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning starts now.
All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Hour number 2 underway right here on Jocks. You can watch live on YouTube. Search Jocks 945 each and every morning. It lives there throughout the course of the day. So if you want to go back and watch, you can do that. JocksFM.com. The Jocks app. Search WJOX in your app store. You can get podcasts. Go back and listen to segments, hours, full shows. That also directs you to the YouTube. You can listen live there. Or just tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jock skill.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year, the national champion of GMC dealers. They have won that national championship a remarkable 5 years in a row. Nobody else has come close in the area. That's why you need to take the short drive up to Coleman. We're lucky to have them right in our own backyard. You'll understand the second you walk on the lot why they've won the Dealer of the Year award. Andy Cole and Jonathan Yeager go above and beyond to make sure that you have the experience that you deserve when shopping at Bill Smith. You can get a GMC Sierra 1500 SLT trim, get it $14,000 off the sticker, which is nearly 25% off when you look at the numbers. You can get it for just around $53,000. You can also get a Buick Encore GX for a lot of money off as well, $5,000 off to get it under $25,000. It's an economical, sporty SUV. So highly recommend taking the short drive up to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. You can also shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
All right, let's talk a little outside the SEC college football. Matt Shodell going to join us now on the Higginbotham Hotline to discuss the Miami Hurricanes. Matt, we're not there. We're not watching practice. We don't talk to people that are there every day, but it feels like the buzz on Carson Beck has been growing and growing the last 2 weeks, that maybe ahead of schedule, maybe doing some things that weren't necessarily expected. What's the buzz that you're gathering from just how he's fitting in with this Miami football team and this Miami offense?
Yeah, well, first of all, I guess Miami's doing something right to have garnered interest from a show in Alabama to talk about Miami.
Well, listen, they have a former offensive lineman as their head coach, so we're going to talk about him. At the end of the day, that's just it. So,
also our guy, Mario.
We like Mario.
Yeah, we're big on Mario.
Yeah, Mario's great. So, yeah, Carson Beck. Okay, let's go to the beginning. When he first came in, the perception was people in Athens wanted to get rid of him. You know, he threw a SEC high 12 interceptions. He had problems mentally. You know, he was distracted by his girlfriend. You know, there's a lot of outside noise. I'll tell you, everything I've heard from inside the program and talking to him myself, this is a different guy maybe than the one who began his career at Georgia and had a sort of up and down career there. Really humble, smart, nerdy. You know, he says he likes Star Trek is like his favorite show, and he plays the piano on his free time. Doesn't like leaving the house, not a partier is what he says, and he hasn't been reported at, you know, Club 11 or anything like that on South Beach. And his teammates like him, and he's constantly in the film room. And then you see him on the field this fall because he missed the spring off that UCL mesh surgery, which went very well. And he's 100%. I mean, he's an NFL first-round talent quarterback. And the only question regarding him is whether he's going to have the same problems he had at Georgia last year, not the year before, but last year, where Miami's receivers are a question mark, right? And the Georgia receivers, I think, dropped the most yardage in Power 4 football. If his receivers aren't getting open, which they've been hit or miss this fall camp, but the cornerbacks at Miami are really good, so it's a little hard to tell till they get against another secondary. But the big challenge will be Notre Dame, obviously, which has a top secondary. But everything he's done has been on point. He's looked great. Accuracy, arm strength, everything's back. He looks elite.
I think a lot of people forget what he was 2 years ago. And understandably, I can get why it becomes sometimes convoluted when evaluating these guys. But the guy played at a really high level last year. And frankly, his offensive line let him down, his wide receivers let him down, and he was a bit of a scapegoat, which I think is a little unfair. Now, though, with the new lease on life, I expect him to be really good. I think the offensive line will be really good. My biggest question remains the receivers. And knowing who they play week 1, how ready those receivers better be to play against super physical man cover corners. Are they capable at wide receiver of taking this offense to the next level?
Right. So that's the $1 million question. We get questions from fans every day about it. We do a morning show. Fans are constantly asking us, and we're always addressing it on the show. Here's the real question, and also the question mark, right? having watched spring practices myself, having watched fall practices myself, the most talented wide receivers on the roster are 3 true freshmen, and if he's fully healthy, he's constantly banged up, JoJo Trader, who's in his second year and didn't play much last year. So that's scary when Miami brought in 3 transfers who are all seniors, CJ Daniels, Keelan Marion, and Tony Johnson. Since you guys are in Alabama, you probably don't follow it as closely down here. But you're probably in Alabama, you never heard of these guys probably, right? I mean, one's from BYU, one's from Cincinnati. One had no touchdowns at LSU last year, but was really good at Liberty, lower level Liberty the year before. That would be CJ Daniels, who had a foot injury last year that also held him back. But if Miami wants to use guys who have done it before, right, veterans, none of those 3 guys have had over 500 yards in a single season at the Power 4 level, at a major program level, right? Are they willing to play the true freshman? Are they willing to play a second-year guy like JoJo Trader and give those guys the majority of the reps? I think that decision will essentially dictate how Carson Beck looks this year, because having watched the practices, I think the young guys are the best players in the wide receiver room. So I don't know what they're going to do. Do you go with experience against Notre Dame, or do you just throw out some guys who have maybe their eyes get a little too big on the big stage and they make a mistake that costs you the game? I don't know. That's why I'm not paid anywhere near as much as Mario Cristobal, or for that matter, Carson Beck.
We're talking with Matt Shodell. He covers the Miami Hurricanes. A lot of positive buzz coming out of camp so far. When you look at either other transfers in that maybe didn't garner a lot of talk when they signed or decided they were going to go to Miami, or younger players we haven't seen a lot of yet, who has maybe made the most strides that you could see early on being an impact player for Miami that hasn't gotten the offseason discussion?
Oh, the big name that nobody's probably heard of outside of Rutgers is Mohamed Toure. He missed all last year with a torn ACL. The year before, he had 92 tackles. And you look at this guy, and he looks like he's a professional wrestler. I mean, his arms are bigger than my body. Like, this guy is chiseled, and he's had a couple of major knee injuries, but he looks like he's back, and he's going to start at middle linebacker for Miami. He's going to be outstanding. And then the secondary is the other thing that's been totally reshaped. And you're noticing these are all in the defense, right? Because the defense is what cost Miami the playoffs last year. The offense was off the charts. So Miami really addressed its weakest area on defense, which is the secondary. And 4 of the starters in the secondary are going to be transfers. Keontae Scott, who had a horrible year last year at Auburn, but that was playing boundary corner. The year before, he was outstanding at nickel. And now he's back with that Auburn secondary coach at Miami playing nickel again, and he's looked pretty good. You got O.J. Frederick is the only returner in the secondary who was really good as a freshman last year. And then they added, Xavier Lucas, who everybody knows because of the lawsuit between Wisconsin and Miami, right? He's been outstanding. I think he's going to start at the other cornerback spot. They got Ethan O'Connor from Washington State for depth, who's a really good cornerback. And then at safety, the 2 starters are both transfer portal guys. Jacoby Thomas, who was a backup at Tennessee last year, which sounds like why would you want him? But he's actually looked decent. And Zechariah Poyser, who started as a redshirt freshman last year at Jacksonville State, and again you'd say, well, why would you want him? But he's looked really good. So again, this is in practices, and this is against the Miami wide receiver core that isn't perhaps great, could be great, but we don't know. So with so many transfers on the defensive side, I don't think they can be any worse than last year when it was pretty bad. But the question is, how elite can this defense be? Is it going to be an average defense or a great defense? Because it could honestly be either or even a little bit below average. We have to wait and find out.
What about just the defensive coordinator? And while I like Lance Guidry, I think Lance Guidry tried to do a little too much from time to time last year. And the year before, frankly, just kind of watching them just aggressively blitz for no reason. With Heatherman, I feel like they're going to be much more sound. It's going to let the players play. We're not going to see as much aggressiveness, not as much, I don't want to say like ego, but it's like I felt like Guidry had an ego. It's like I want to hurt people with my blitz packages. I think Heatherman will have some more patience when it comes to the defensive plan. So how will the scheme help the players?
Yeah, and I like Lance Guidry as a person, but he became a 4-letter word in Miami by the end of last season, unfortunately. The scheme is the same. It's still a 4-2-5, and it's still an attacking 4-2-5. The issue Lance Guidry had, and partially it was his fault, obviously, because it always comes back to the coaches, but he did not have defensive backs who were any good. And his whole scheme was predicated on having cornerbacks that can cover one-on-one to, like you said, allow him to blitz every single down. And he never really adjusted when other teams just were lighting up the secondary for 4, 5, 6 explosive plays through the air per game, which cost you games, obviously. Corey Heatherman's defense, okay, it is still an attacking 4-2-5, but now he has the cornerbacks, like we were just talking about, right? Really good cornerbacks across the board and good depth at cornerback across the board, which will free him up to do what he wants to do. And his defense also is much easier to understand. Every player we talk to, from first string to 10th string, I know there's not a 10th string, but every guy on the defense has told us this defense is so much easier to understand. It lets me play free. I don't have to think so much. And as anyone who's played football at a high level knows, when you're thinking on the field, it's slowing you down, okay? Whether it's pre-snap, during the play, whatever the case may be. And for those of you that watched a lot of Miami games last year, which maybe your listeners didn't, there were a lot of times where you would literally see linebackers looking to the sideline with their arms raised up, looking for the call as the ball's being snapped or just before the ball is being snapped. That will not be happening this year. You will not be seeing linebackers trying to cover slot receivers. You will not see defensive ends trying to cover, fast X's and Z's and Y's. This is going to be a much more, like you said, sound defense, but it still will be, I think, heavy on the blitzing because he can trust his cornerbacks. And if the cornerbacks don't work out, then unlike what happened last year, I'm sure he will adjust, help over the top from the safeties, figure out how to stop the run from there, all that chess game stuff.
We're visiting with Matt Shodell. He covers the Miami Hurricanes. And you mentioned last year, Matt. I want to ask you about a guy that was there last year, not going to be there this year since we are in the state of Alabama. Isaiah Horton has a lot of positive buzz for what he could potentially be for the Crimson Tide this fall. What would you say to Alabama fans that they should expect to get from this young man that has played for the Hurricanes?
First of all, Miami tried desperately to keep Isaiah Horton. I mean, they threw everything at him that they could to try and entice him to stay. I mean, they were desperate to get him to stay because they viewed him as a future star. Now that he's at Alabama, I'm sure he's going to be terrible, right? Isn't that what happens, right? You go to a different program, you're terrible, or that's
when
what
you
Miami
leave your
say.
program, you're not good. That's just how it goes.
Miami fans say he's no good anymore. No, Isaiah Horton's an outstanding talent. Tall, rangy, great hands, makes tough catches, athletic. He's one of these big physical NFL level receivers. At Miami, he was special, and they certainly could have used him at Miami this year. And you guys got a good one.
What about Jaden Harris and Josh Horton, safety D linemen that have both ended up at Georgia? Would you anticipate them being real players for Kirby Smart?
All right, let's start with Josh Horton. Josh is an incredible athletic talent. Incredible, okay? Quick, big, strong, like everything you want, all those NFL intangibles you want in defensive tackle. He always had injury problems at Miami, right? And he just never sort of has found his way. If he can be injury-free, if he can be back to what he was, then yeah, he can be an impact player. Jaden Harris is one of the fastest flat-out speed guys you'll ever see at safety. But for some reason at Miami last year, he played like he was at half speed, took bad angles, could not track the ball well in the air, struggled in run support, had all kinds of problems. Just to be honest, like Miami fans aren't like touting over either of them like they are over Isaiah Horton, that's for sure.
Gotcha. Matt, great stuff, man. Good updates on the Hurricanes and some players that are leaving the Hurricanes. It sounds like a lot of positive vibes from Mario Cristobal's team right now. We appreciate you sharing those with us and hope to catch up with you soon.
Sure thing. Anytime.
There you go. Matt Shodell joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, talking to Miami Hurricanes. So he referenced that secondary multiple times, GMAC. And so you address that. You go to Arizona and get Emmanuel Carnley to play corner. You go to Jacksonville State. You get Zachariah Poyser to come in and potentially play some safety. You go to Michigan State. You get Charles Brantley to potentially come in and play some corner. They addressed the bodies at least out of the portal. Now, I don't know if Xavier Lucas is going to come in and be a lockdown corner for him from Wisconsin, and he can sort of be that guy. But they have at least gone out and gotten the bodies of which it sounded like Matt telling us we're not capable enough last year, and the defense will alter some to potentially help. So if that portion gets repaired defensively and it's not as egregious by nature and how it's called this year, can that defense take a couple of big steps, take a few leaps?
Yes, because if you look at what they have up front, they have guys that can crush you. I mean, Reuben Bain is a guy that was a little banged up last year.
He's a good player.
But he can go off the edge defensively. So if they have some guys that can create their own shot, there's no need to get too deep in the weeds with your blitz packages. Just rush 4, cover down on the back end, and see if Bain can get home. And they have more than just him, by the way. They got a couple guys on the interior and a couple guys on the exterior that are also solid from a depth standpoint. So I think Miami is a playoff team. I really do. I think they're that good. I would not at all be surprised if they beat Notre Dame week 1. I think that's a toss-up game. And I think if Carson Beck can return to becoming the Carson Beck that he was last year, they're going to be in a great spot to make a move. I really believe that.
All right, that's a little bit of a Miami Hurricanes outside of the SEC update. We'll give you some more updates around the SEC and get back to our conversation we were having last hour of how many teams possibly could end up in the SEC championship game. That's next right here on Jocks.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, and 3-Man Front video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.